Hello, welcome back to Unknown and Talented. My name is Jelan Abrams, and we officially hit a year. We hit a year of recording podcast episodes every single week, every single Wednesday, showing up. And it's just been amazing. It's been amazing. I remember starting my podcast, my first episode was Consistency Saved My Life. And a year later, I can definitely say that podcasting changed my life. And it's just so many things that I learned about myself of recording every single week for a year. Like it's definitely something that you can learn. You can definitely see a difference in my life because of doing this. And one reason why is consistency. Having to do something every single week made you super focused because I can't miss a week. I didn't. My main thing is like, yo, every single week I'm making sure I show up, and I'm gonna show up and put the best product in front of y'all that I possibly can. But I learned that consistency is actually more than just doing that. It's more than just showing up. So I think of an example for me. We all watch TV. We all has those favorite shows growing up that we watched at a certain time. So I think of a show of, like for me, for example, How to Get Away with Murder. Every Thursday, 10 o'clock, Shonda Rhimes is dropping How to Get Away with Murder, and each episode was better than the last episode. So the only reason why she was able to build that fan base because each time she shows up, the product was good because she's not gonna have another episode until next week. So if she keep just showing up and each episode is bad, nobody's gonna show up for the next week. So you have to make sure each week. This might be the first time that somebody listens to me, and I got to make sure that I am putting my best foot forward because that's the only way I'm going to build. And that was definitely a challenge for me. Some weeks I'm just throwing episodes out, and I'm like, yo, this is not the product I wanted. But the main thing I have to keep doing is each episode, whatever I did, I have to learn from it and then show up for the next week. So I've definitely learned about consistency, about showing up, and about improving each and every week because it's not gonna happen overnight. You're not gonna be able to build and have this super big podcast overnight. It's consistently showing up, consistently being better each week, and then after time, it's gonna happen. But it's not gonna happen overnight. You see all these people, oh, build this in 60 days, do this in 90 days. I've been doing this for 365 days, and it's a lot more to learn, but you got to realize it's going to be a lot more than just showing up. Because with this podcast, it's so many things that I didn't know how to do before doing this. I had a background of music production, so I was used to making beats, kind of staying behind the scenes, contacting artists and say, hey, you want this beat, use the beat, and they end up doing whatever they want to do with it. From making beats, I transitioned into having a podcast with my friends. And basically, the only thing we did was just chat. We just talked about things in our past, just random conversations. It was very natural because it was something that we did all the time. It was like we just was on the phone and talking about nonsense, and we recorded it, and people enjoyed it. So after that, I was kind of moving away from that. I kind of wanted to find something that actually helped people. And I decided to start this podcast. But to try to help people, it was a lot more challenging than I thought. So I started with, individual podcast episodes where I'm shooting for an hour. I haven't hit any episodes that hit an hour yet, but I'm shooting, let's say I can try to talk for an hour where I'm trying to keep someone engaged. And that was very challenging. That was very challenging because I had to make sure I had to do my research. I had to make sure that looking in the camera straight in the face, that's something that some people are very scared to do. They're afraid of public speaking. And that's basically what I'm doing every week. I don't have a big audience all in the crowd, but I'm talking to this camera every single week. And it was definitely kind of challenging because if for me, I could cheat off. I have a cheat sheet, right? Hopefully, I can't see my notes. But so I have my cheat sheet. I can't just sit here and just read off my cheat sheet because that's gonna be bad video. Nobody wants to see you reading, especially if you're doing a speech. Nobody's gonna say, "Oh, yeah, my name is." Nobody wants to see that. So you want to make sure that I'm talking in front of this mic. I'm looking in front of the camera, and each show is gonna become better. But it was definitely a lot of things to learn. For this as well, I started interviewing people, and I started off with my friends, people that I knew, and then what I did, I just started to interviewing random people that I thought were kind of cool. So I didn't go out and reach for, the superstars, the Jay-Z, the Usher, the Shannon Sharp, all these big names. I didn't go for all of that because that's unrealistic. Who wants to just show up on my show and I'm a nobody? I made sure to contact people that I thought were cool or did stuff that were different. That would be a great for having a podcast. But that was a challenge as well. But actually starting and interviewing people, I think that was probably the main thing that actually changed me for the better is because I started interviewing people that I didn't know, having conversations with people that I didn't know, and being able to get information out of them that they wouldn't tell anybody else, which was kind of crazy. I just remember multiple conversations of people talking about like somebody in their family passed away and how that actually changed. Then I'm just like, wow, you ended up sharing something like that with me. I remember a couple people I interviewed were talking about, oh, I never shared this, I never told this story to anybody, or I never like recorded this and put it out. And it's just like, wow, this is something that I was able to ask the right questions and touch the right buttons to make somebody, share this. And I think it's a cool thing as well is that I wasn't in person with these people. So if I was starting recording people in person, I would get more out of that, more out of them than just being virtually. But I was able to get that. But that was just stuff that I did over time, just reaching out to people that I didn't know. Like the first episode I ever did with somebody I didn't know, her name was Kiera Sophia. She's an actor, so she does acting. And I remember recording it after I was done. I was just like, man, this sucks. I was, devastated. Like, man, I didn't do good at this at all. Like, I felt I didn't do good at this at all. But, listening back to it and seeing how many people actually watched that episode, I said, wow, this is amazing. This is something that I've never done. I've never had a background in broadcasting in college or anything like that, but I was able to do that, and then I was able to continuously find people and interview them. And I think that really brought me out of my shell because now I'm, looking for people to talk to. Growing up, I didn't do a lot of talking. I was extremely shy. I basically stayed to myself. It's kind of embarrassing now to think about it, but I remember this one girl, she called me shy boy because I didn't talk. Or no, quiet boy. There you go. She told me quiet boy because I didn't talk. Like she didn't even know my name because I was just like so shy to even talk to people. But that's what she was calling me, and I kind of went with it. But now I'm way out of my shell, and doing this podcast really helped me like actually go out and seek people, seek real conversations with people. And now when I'm talking to somebody, it's like, yo, they can really feel like I really care about what they have to say because I have practice of actually interviewing people and having conversations with people. My main goal is to end up being an entrepreneur and not having to work for somebody. I've interviewed multiple people that currently don't have any 9 to 5 and they are just entrepreneurs. And it was just amazing for me to have those conversations with them of the work that they put in to get there and how that's going for them now. And that really changed my mindset. That changed my mindset of how focused you have to be to get to that position where you're like, okay, now it's time to leave this job. So everyone that I spoke to, when they made that decision, it was a scary decision. It wasn't a decision like, man, my business is going crazy and now it's my time to go. It's just like, yo, my business is going crazy and I'm betting on myself and I'm gonna end up, leaving this job. And everybody I've talked to so far, for the most part, most of the people I talked to, it's worked out. Some people had to go back to work, but it is what it is. It's a chance that they have to take, and that really, changed my mindset because, like I stated, I definitely want to be an entrepreneur. I definitely want to be able to work for myself, but actually speaking to people, having conversations, having their numbers in my phone that I can talk to, where now if I end up, and making that decision at one point, I have people to actually ask for advice because I had, heartfelt conversations with them, which is I think is really cool. So another reason why I think podcasting it will be very, very beneficial for you and also help change my life is that I now create content, at a better scale. So right now, like when I'm creating these podcast episodes, it feels like I have my own show. So it is my own show. It's the Unknown and Talented show, but I'm organizing my shows in a certain way where it can build emotion out of people. So, I have my individual episodes where I have, everything written out, how I want it to go, how I want it to start, how I want it to end, the middle, podcast I do with my fiance, we do, we have an intro where we're joking, we have the middle, we have the end. And then when I interview people, I legit have my questions. I know exactly how I want the podcast episode to go before I even record it. And they don't know. Of course, they don't know. It's gonna go, different ways because of them. But I kind of still have how I want to intro, how I want to, go through it and end it. But it's made me more conscious of creating content now. And you got to really worry about, the viewer. Most of the times when I created content, it was just for me. I think this is good, and I'm gonna put it out. But you want to make sure that you start off that episode or any kind of content with something that makes the person stick. Like, I'm staying in this episode because I enjoyed this first thing. Somebody just clicked play for the first time and they like, man, who is this person? They got to be hooked right away. So that made me learn something very good with that. Challenges though, recording podcasts is not going to be something that's easy. You're dealing with equipment, you're gonna have a lot of errors. Like my mic, this is a new mic. The mic that I had before, it was fine. I remember I had a portable mic where I recorded like 3 episodes and it was just buzzing the entire time. And I didn't realize that until after I'm finished recording. Because what I usually do, I batch record. So I batch a bunch of episodes together. And I had like 3 episodes where I'm using this mic and it's buzzing the whole time. And I didn't realize that till I'm editing. And I'm like, yo, this is ridiculous. And that kind of happens, that kind of happens with the territory. If you're trying to create something, you're trying to do something different, is everything is not going to go as planned. I have this camera. This camera is not the most expensive camera. It's about a $500 camera. But as y'all know, a lot of people talk about 4K. So 4K is super high quality. So I record this in 4K. But the thing about this camera, since it's not one of the high end cameras, it doesn't have an autofocus. So I have to manually focus this every time I record in 4K. And the problem with that is I'm a one man show. So if I'm trying to focus it and it's a little small little, if y'all know a camera, it's a little small little screen there. I gotta look and squint to see if I'm in focus or not. And sometimes I mess up and I'm like, oh, I think I'm in focus, and I have a whole episode where I'm out of focus, and that's crazy. But I'm definitely gonna keep this episode short. This wasn't gonna be anything long. I just basically want to just be excited that we hit a year of consistency and just basically just talk, just honestly, just have a conversation with y'all. But I've learned so much about myself starting this podcast, and if you ever thought about it, I would say do it. It's definitely a lot of fun. One of the main things that I've learned about myself is that people are gravitating towards me a lot more than I thought, especially after having these conversations and think creating content and being in this social world where you're never really knowing these people that you're communicating with, to actually have conversations with them and building that bond. It's something special. It's something special being able to have a conversation with a stranger, and then now you end up being friends. End up meeting people, in another city. It's definitely an amazing thing. So if you ever thought about creating a podcast, I will say do it. Definitely gonna change your life. Definitely change your mindset. It's definitely changed a lot for me. Yeah, and that's pretty much my story. I don't really have much. Like I said, I'm just talking. Let me see if I have anything else on here. Boom, boom, boom. I think I talked about everything on this episode. Yeah, and that's honestly pretty much it, man. All I gotta say is if you do end up starting a podcast, it's gonna take longer to be ranked and be successful than you think. I've been doing this for a year. I had a podcast with my friends that I've done for a year as well. So I've legit been podcasting for 2 years now. But it's gonna definitely take longer than you think. It's gonna be definitely learning hurdles you have to get over. But do it. I say it's worth it. And that's all I got. As y'all hear, I'm out of. I don't even got a voice right now, but I recorded this podcast. But yeah, we gonna be on for another year of consistency, another year of getting better, and yeah, that's all I got. So hope y'all enjoyed this episode. I'm sorry my energy wasn't as high as it usually is. I have no voice right now. I don't even know what happened, but that's what happens. Like I said, this is you're doing something consistently for a year. You're not always gonna be healthy. Some days you're gonna be sick, but you got to keep showing up because this is what you decided you want to do, right? So But this is Unknown and Talented. I'm Jelan Abrams, and we gonna see you next year, right? 'Cause it's been a year. Do that be next year? Or do we say next week? Next year, because it is March, so we really can't say next year. So it is okay. Well, we gonna see you next week. All right. Unknown and Talented, Jelan Abrams. See you next week. We out.